As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Okay guys, here we go. I'm going to do a review of one of the most obvious films. Everyone's seen it. Goodfellas. Everyone's seen it. Why am I doing a review? Because it's part of the 1001 films to see before you die list. So, let's say something very briefly about the plot, because everyone knows Goodfellas. You pretty much know Goodfellas. If you don't, where you've been? Right, Robert De Niro. Why am I pointing at him? That is Ray Liotta. They've got the names all wrong on the Blu-ray. That's a bad start. Robert De Niro above Ray Liotta. Ray Liotta above De Niro. Joe Pesci gets it right, because Joe Pesci held a gun to someone's fucking head, so you get my fucking name right on that front cover. Anyway, Ray Liotta, Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, playing Henry Hill, Jimmy Conway, and Tommy DeVito. They're the three mobsters, three guys working within the mafia. Let's call it as is, they're working within the mafia. And it's a sort of rise and fall story. If you haven't seen it, you've got to go and see it, man. I'm not going to talk too much about the film, because the film is amazing. Everyone knows it's amazing. However, this film is what really brought Martin Scorsese to the attention of the mainstream. Martin Scorsese and De Niro's partnership was already there with stuff like Mean Streets and Taxi Driver, but this brought it to the forefront and to the mainstream. He'd done King of Comedy with De Niro before, I believe, but this is what put him on the map for everyone. Now, it's not really De Niro's film, it's Ray Liotta's film. Ray Liotta plays Henry Hill, who is this gangster. Well, he's a kid who grew up in that environment. I can't really remember where it is, Brooklyn or something like that. And he's brought up in that environment, and he becomes really good friends with Tommy and Jimmy. And he becomes part of their crew, and he's not a part of the mafia, but he's doing deals for Paulie, you know, sort of the Godfather type character. And naturally, it's a rise and fall story. It's quite an epic film. It's 2 hours 40 minutes, so it's the rise through the ranks and the inevitable fall. But the fall is an interesting fall. It's not the typical fall. Now I won't say too much more about it. It was based on a book by Nicholas Pileggi, who Henry Hill is Nicholas Pileggi. I think I might be wrong about that actually. No, Nicholas Pileggi wrote the book about Henry Hill, the real gangster Henry Hill. So Ray Liotta was Henry Hill. Nicholas Pileggi wrote the book about him, I believe. And so it's based on that and a lot of the exploits in that book. In the same way that the Donnie Brasco book, where the FBI guy went undercover with the mafia for 10 years, was turned into the film with Johnny Depp. It was based on a book, and these anecdotes and a vast history of time spent with the mafia was condensed into this, you know, 2.5 hour film. This is better than Donnie Brasco. Donnie Brasco is a good film. This is far superior. It's a totally different type of film. It's a mafia film. Look, I'm not going to talk about the plot. I just want to say a few interesting key things about this that might be of interest for people. Anyone who likes this sort of film, you're probably not surprised to know that there's a lot of characters in this that are in The Sopranos. I can't remember all of their names, but you've got, Paulie Walnuts. Paulie Walnuts is in this film. He's in it for like 5 minutes at the beginning. He hasn't even got a really significant role, but he's in it for about 5 minutes in the days when Henry Hill is a kid. Then you've got Dr. Melfi, she's in this. She plays Henry Hill's wife in this, much younger. She's still got that husky voice, and it's interesting that she went from this to The Sopranos. I had no idea when I was watching Sopranos that it was the same actress who played Henry Hill's wife in this. So it was interesting to see her in that younger role. It's also got Christopher Moltisanti. He's in this as well. He plays Spider. A lot of you who've seen the film will know what the significance of Spider's character is in this, particularly in that scene. Look, it's come off that scene now as well. Hang on. See, because this is the thing that annoys me about this Blu-ray. If we're doing a sort of Blu-ray review here as well, unlike the Breakfast at Tiffany's Blu-ray, which I was doing the other day, this has no menu. You know, it has no Goodfellas menu with the artwork and everything. When you go to the menu, you get this, which is always annoying when you get this. I hate this when you get it with Blu-rays, because you think it's been so packaged that you should be able to polish it up a bit, give it some artwork look. You just get the extras. The extras are nice though. The extras are nice. Watch some of this. What was it? Getting Made. Getting Made. That feature has got interviews with all of the main cast. So it's got Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro, all of them talking on camera at the time when this was made, which is interesting to see. And interesting to see interviews with Joe Pesci, because I've never really seen interviews with him. Seen interviews with De Niro, he's always awkward. Seen interviews with Martin Scorsese, he's always like this hyper Woody Allen type guy. Anyway, fucking sirens in this place, man. Yeah, so there's some interesting features on there. There's also, it's a hard film to review. I love this film. It's a great film, but what I do need to say is that this isn't as good as the follow-up film, which came, I don't know, 5-6 years later, Casino, directed by Martin Scorsese again, sees Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci taking on Las Vegas, basically. Robert De Niro plays Ace Rothstein, but that's a review for another time. I don't actually know if it's on my 1001 film list to see before you die, so you may or may not get a review of that. But anyway, go and pick this up. It's worth it. It's a great picture. The sound is a little bit problematic because the only other time I've noticed this sound problem actually is with The Dark Knight Rises. Because you've got narration from Ray Liotta's character throughout the whole film, his narration blares out of the rear speakers, whereas all of the main dialogue plays out of the front three and in the subwoofer. Now, it's kind of disorientating because you're so used to hearing him very clearly, and then when all the other guys are speaking, they're all coming from the front, you're kind of straining to hear, and it's actually them you want to hear clearer because they're talking, you know, his narration is clear and defined. That could probably do with coming out the front, and the actual dialogue from them could do with coming out of the rear speakers, so you can get those more clearly. Because it's one of those cases, you know, where you've got to turn the volume right up to hear what they say, and then when something comes in on the rear speakers, you're like fucking blowing your head off. There's a beautiful scene, which is my favourite scene from this film. I know this is a sporadic review, but I can't do a normal review for this because everyone knows this, so it has to be little bits and pieces. When De Niro kills all the people, pretty much all the people that were involved in one of his heists, just to shut everybody up. And Layla, I think it is, by Eric Clapton, not the bit that everyone knows, not the Layla, the bit that comes after that. That is played over the scene, and it is immense. It's an epic scene. The music just fills it and swells it and makes it cool. I didn't realise how much Martin Scorsese actually really did love to use music in his films. He kills this soundtrack. There's about 40 songs in this film throughout. Much more than Tarantino uses music. Tarantino throws in his personal record collection, which is fine, but Martin Scorsese puts on some really good tracks in this film. Now, one other thing I want to say, there's a great scene in this where, I'd forgotten about it until I saw it again, where it tracks Ray Liotta and his wife walking from the car. They pull up outside a club and they walk through the kitchen, through the back door, through the kitchen, past all these stuff, through to the restaurant, get picked up by the maitre d'. The maitre d' gets someone to lift a table, carry it to the front of the bar, put it in front of the stage. They sit down, there's mobsters all around, someone buys them a drink, hands it over to them. It's so natural, and it's all one shot. Scorsese just follows it with one camera all the way. And then the extras, I think they said they only had to do it 8 times, do the take 8 times, and that is impressive for the choreography and all that must have been involved. Listen, that's all I've got to say about this film. It's Goodfellas, you know exactly what it's about. You know what it's about. If you haven't seen it, go out and pick it up. It's not for everyone. If you don't like crime films, if you don't like mafia films, then stay away from it. But you cannot call yourself a film buff and not like and rate this film. That's what I've really got to say about it. Immense, incredible. Robert De Niro, my favourite actor, is in this. Robert De Niro, and it's a shame that we're not seeing more of him and Scorsese teaming up. But I do believe that he has got something on the horizon, which I think, it sounds like a fantasy project, is Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, Al Pacino, and one other big shot. I can't even remember who it is, but I'm going to be teaming up with Scorsese to do something in the future. I think it's another mafia film. I'll check that out on the IMDb. But yeah, that'll be some pretty exciting shit. Anyway, Goodfellas review.